Welcome to another episode of Plant Fanatics. Today we're going to be talking about if you have what it takes to build a food forest, so stay tuned. There's a few key things we need to think about before we start a food forest build, and that is time, money, and effort. So I want to discuss those topics with you guys briefly, just so you can get a good idea of what you're looking at if you're going to decide to go down the food forest path. Let's discuss the concept of time. I'm not going to beat around the bush with you guys. If this is not something that you're passionate about, then I would stay away from the food forest style of gardening, because even though eventually it is going to be a self-sustaining ecosystem, at the beginning it is not, and it's going to take almost all of your time in the garden, taking care of your plants, watching them, seeing what they need, and making changes in the garden throughout time. So if you're not passionate about this, don't even think about doing a food forest style of garden. If you just like passing by your garden and being like, oh, that looks good occasionally, this isn't the style for you. Next, let's discuss the financial obligations that come with building a food forest. You have to think about the sheer number of plants that can fit in a small area in this style of planting. So there's going to be a lot of plants, and plants cost money. You can buy the plants small to save some money, but still you're going to spend a lot of money because you need diversity in a food forest. So I think that you'll easily blow past that $2,000 to $5,000 mark if you're doing all the labor yourself. Now, if you're not doing the labor and you're paying somebody else to do it, those figures are going to go up very, very rapidly. So do the labor yourself if you want to save some money, but still, it's going to cost a pretty penny. So once again, you're going to want to be passionate about gardening. It's not something for the faint of heart. And now let's get to the last point, which is effort. Let's be honest, most of us can't afford to pay somebody 30, 40, 50 grand to put a food forest in for us. So when you look at something like a blackberry flower, it is beautiful and it's awesome to have this in the yard, but people don't think about the fact that you have to dig the hole for each and every single one of these plants that's in the garden, and it's a lot of work, okay? If you are not willing to do the work, if you're not willing to sweat, and if you're not willing to do the maintenance, because there is maintenance involved in food forest style of gardening, all this mulch and everything that's in here was shoveled by hand and carried in with a wheelbarrow and then spread by hand. So effort is tremendous. If you're not willing to put in the effort, you might as well not even get started with this, because it is difficult at first. Eventually it's going to be its own self-sustaining ecosystem, but at the beginning there's a lot of input. So yeah, effort is certainly not least in this equation, but those are really the three big things that equate to having a food forest. So if you're not willing to do any one of those three things, I would definitely stay away from this style of gardening. And it's not a shot to anybody who has been considering doing this, but at some point you have to be realistic with yourself. It's not easy. It is a lot of work, and it's a labor of love, okay? It's a lot easier to go to the store and buy your fruit there, but to grow it in your own yard and to do it in a style of gardening that is not really mainstream yet is definitely something to think about. And like I said, it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of money, and it's certainly going to take a lot of effort. So think about those things before you get started, guys. But I wish the best for you, and if it's something that you want to do, I'm excited for you, and I know it's going to work out well if you put your mind to it. If you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel, leave a like on this video and share with any of your friends who have been talking about a food forest. And let's be real with them, but let's also encourage them to get it done. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Go to theamericanfigcompany.com and pick up some of our awesome plants that we have for sale right now.